my son got, at 9 years old, was hit by a car, thrown 44 feet. What is that, 10 meters? I don't know, long ways. They thought he was dead. They took him to the hospital. I met him at the hospital. They had a whole team in intensive care keeping him alive. And then when he was stable, he was unconscious, but stable, they took him up to a room in the critical care unit. And my wife and I could stay in the room with him, and they had comfortable chairs so you could lean back and we could stay there with him all night. And both my wife and I knew that thinking about what had happened and getting more and more upset would not help our son. So we both let go of everything, both of us. Spontaneously, we knew, and we got quieter and quieter and quieter, and we felt nothing but pure love for our son. And then this is how wisdom works. It brings you what you need when you're fully open and receptive to it. It's called wisdom because it's an intelligence that can bring you exactly what you need at any moment in any situation ever that you find yourself in. And it occurred to my wife in this quiet state to sing lullabies to our son that she sang to him when he was a baby. And there's a monitor over his bed, and it had his the number of his heartbeat, which was 113. So he's in a state of fear and panic, and even though he's unconscious, his heart is going twice as fast as normal. And they had a chart on the electric chart showing his breathing, and it was very shallow and fast and irregular. My wife starts to sing to him, and the heartbeat went from 113 down to 65. And the breathing suddenly went slow and deep. And when she stopped singing the song, it went right back to 113. Guess what we did all night? I can't even sing. I sang. I sang. We were singing because we knew it was helping him quiet down. That's wisdom. We couldn't have learned that in a book. My daughter the next day is with my son, and hospital rooms can be pretty plain. And she had the idea of going home to his bedroom and getting his favorite posters and bringing them in and putting them up on the wall. And people were sending flowers, so we put all the flowers around his bed. People brought food. We put all the food under the bed. People were sending cards, so we put cards up all over the wall. It was like Neiman Marcus at Christmas time in his room. And my wife and I kept coming back to this quiet presence and bringing love to him and to the nurses that came in and the doctors. And pretty soon the nurses and doctors, even when they had finished their shifts, would come back and be with us because they just loved being in that feeling. And the doctors said after a few days, we've never seen anybody recover faster from their injuries than your son. That was my wife and I beginning to understand the power of a quiet mind. Was in the hospital room with our son. My wife at one point turned to me and she said, "Dicken, what are you doing?" We were both sitting there quiet for a long time. She says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, when I'm really present, it feels like I'm standing on a top of a wall and it's solid. And if I start thinking about the past, what happened to Ben, and if I think about him being hit by a car going as fast, it broke his hip, internal damage, internal bleeding, concussion. If I think about that, it was like falling off the wall into the black abyss. If I go into memory or imagination about the past, if I think about the future, I was thinking my son is going to be crippled for life. He's going to be connected to machines his whole life, or he's going to be brain dead. It was like falling off the wall the other way. But when I'm just present in this feeling right now and relaxing into it, it's totally grounded, safe. And I felt like then I could bring love to my son, which I knew that's what intuitively I knew he needed love, not fear, not anger, not upset. After 3 days, I went home to take a shower, changed my clothes. I get a phone call while I'm home, and it was the young college boy that had hit my son. And he said, "I've been calling the hospital to try and find out how he is, but they wouldn't tell me." And he was crying. And he said, "And no one will tell me how he's doing because I'm not a relative." I talked to him for half an hour, and the last thing I wanted to do is to get into my head around blame and anger and upset with this kid. And he left the call thanking me enormously and couldn't believe that I could be that compassionate toward him too, and what he must have been going through. I get a call right after that. Isn't this interesting? I'm home. Right after talking with him, I get a call from his insurance company, and they wanted to know how much I would be willing to settle for, because they were sure I was going to sue him. I never did. It was the last thing on our mind. We didn't want to be thinking about any of that. We just wanted to bring love to our son. That's all we wanted to do. And we couldn't do that while we're caught up in our own negative thinking. I couldn't do that. It's when I started to see that no matter what circumstance you're in the quiet moment of the now, you can always access love. No exceptions. And when my son finally became conscious, the very first thing he said, "Can I make a phone call?" We said, "Yes, anybody you want." What do you want to call? He wanted to call the boy that was with him, that saw him, his friend who saw him get hit. His first thought was not for himself, it was for this other boy, because he had been surrounded by this love. I've been with people who are dying. I find that feeling. I can still feel sad. It comes and goes, but I find that feeling, that Sid would say, always look within. There's a quiet beneath the noise of your thinking, the quiet of being present. Rest in that quiet. And in that quiet, if you're aware, there's just that feeling of life energy. Rest in that feeling. And if you're in a quiet mind and a deep feeling, you'll know what to do. It'll guide you no matter what's happening, no matter what your situation. No human being can think their way to the present moment. No human being can think their way to a peaceful mind. No human being can think and feel happiness at the same time, or think and feel love. So it goes against our ego that thinks, I have to figure this out. I have to think about this. You go beyond your thinking into the now. The feeling of the now is the easiest way to ground ourselves in presence. And then no matter what your situation, even if you're in a war zone, no matter what your situation, you can find that feeling that connects us to other people and to life, and we start feeling love and compassion without even trying. You just are able to be kind and bring that kindness to other people. And wisdom will guide you on how to do that, and there's no rule book, no recipes.